was blown away by the visceral language on the comments of a recent thread that I posted about the significant risks that come along with untreated adult ADHD in women. These are quotes from women who either have ADHD or suspect that they have ADHD, and what it's been like in their mid-30s onward. So mid-30s to mid-40s. Such a mess. Unmanageable. Anxiety is stratos effing furic. Trying to keep curse words off the page. Off my page, just for accessibility. Are screaming at me. Hot mess. Hell of a struggle. I've been drowning. I have felt like I'm literally losing my mind. It's a shit show. So much for my cursing. Wrecked my life. So hard to be taken seriously. The amount of stress and anxiety that we internalize in order to mask absolutely has a devastating impact on our nervous system. I want to be able to give myself some grace and not be a constant disappointment to myself. My retention is embarrassingly awful. If you can relate to that list, I want to encourage you that you're absolutely not alone. You're in very, very good company. Almost all of them had similar sentiments, and I think we need to be talking about this. If you felt seen, I would love it if you comment and tell me just how you've been feeling and what your experience of your late 30s and early 40s has been. I would be so honored to hear from you. And I think it really helps other women to read. So if you would do that for me, that would be awesome. And you can watch this video if you want more information on some studies about significant risks to not treating your ADHD or not knowing if you have ADHD. That's around the topics of perimenopause symptoms and their severity, as well as increased risk of dementia is being studied. Welcome to my bed. This is my cozy corner, and I have my heating pad. I was just brokenhearted when I would read through these comments. I mean, 2,800 women interacted with that post. And the overall takeaway, what I read to you, just it feels out of control. Women were managing their ADHD or their suspected ADHD until they hit mid-30s, late 30s, early 40s, and then they were just tanking in catastrophic feeling ways. Clearly, things don't feel okay for many of us who are experiencing perimenopause symptoms, but especially women who have ADHD. The stakes are higher. The symptoms are more intense and more disruptive and not sustainable. And so I wanted to talk about that in my own experience and just share what it looked like for me. I had this light bulb moment yesterday when I was talking in my video, and I think that I started my perimenopause symptoms much younger than I even realized that I had. I've recently figured out that I have ADHD, and so it all makes sense based on the studies that I was looking at. But yeah, I was like realizing in real time, oh, yeah, this, and that was when I was 37, 38. So for me, the most concerning and disruptive symptoms were having blanks where words should have been. That was very frightening, especially with a mom with Alzheimer's. I was really, really worried that my brain health was not okay. And it turned out it was just that thing they call brain fog. And once I got my estrogen straightened out, I am doing much better. But my word recall is slower than it used to be for specific words. So that's frustrating. Another thing was just out of control anger. Recognizable to me levels of rage, really. And that was also terrifying. I think what came through in the comments here were not only do people feel like they're losing their minds, they feel unhinged, they feel like it's completely unmanageable, like their lives are no longer manageable. It's also just so scary. There was a woman who said, like, I burst into tears when I read this because I've been feeling like I was crazy the last few years, you know? And that breaks my heart. I want to be talking about this because you are not alone if you are experiencing deletion of words in your brain. It probably doesn't mean that you have early Alzheimer's, but you do need help. You need to be helping your body, and it is worth taking seriously. But you don't have to be scared, like terrified. Maybe you've always had ADHD tendencies, is what I'll call it in my own life. I didn't realize I officially had the diagnosis until my daughter got diagnosed, and it's genetic. And it was like, oh, well, that came from me and my parents. If you've had those sort of tendencies, it's very worth getting checked out. And I know that in the US, it's not very easy to get that done. I think in many other places, it is more possible and much faster. It might be worth going on a vacation to get yourself diagnosed. It's pretty easy to get diagnosed in Bangkok. The whole situation, my coach Glow Atanmo got diagnosed in Bangkok at the mental health hospital there, and she talks about how humane the process was and how just mind-blowingly easy it was compared to her experience trying to get diagnosed in the US and like being put on waiting lists and then having really short notice and needing to come in and then multiple visits. I just had another friend who got diagnosed with autism as an adult a few years ago, and I think she spent 12 hours in appointments. I don't think it was in the same day, but I do know it is not easy and it is not cheap in the US, and it might be fun to just go take a vacation for yourself and get diagnosed elsewhere. I know that sounds crazy, but the world is a little bit weird these days. I'm someone who lives in Portugal. I was able to meet with a psychiatrist and get ADHD meds, and honestly, I'm not sure if I have an official diagnosis. I guess I should ask my psychiatrist. We're both working under the assumption that yes, I have ADHD because I'm taking ADHD meds and they don't work for you unless you have ADHD. So that's another trick to know. I wanted to just share about making space for yourself. Something that I realized is my life abroad works much better for me as a woman with ADHD because I don't have to rush as much. I work on US hours, and so I have my mornings to have like a slow morning here and then get into my work later in the day. But doing remote work and having a later shifted schedule, living in a culture that is not so focused on rushing and hustle culture, all of those things have been very life-giving. They've given me like brain space, even to be adjusting and dealing with these changes with how my body is responding and figuring out that I had ADHD, figuring out, how do I help with these perimenopause symptoms? You may need to change your environment. If you are one of the women who feels like the women in my comment section on Threads, really, there was this thread of desperation. And I want to say, if you're feeling desperate, you might need to change your situation for your own well-being, for the well-being of your brain. If you are someone who is thinking about leaving America or wondering if you might do better outside of America, for me, I absolutely have. There's something about American culture and the lack of space to be a person. Just things don't run in a way that works well for people with ADHD in America. And the pressure is so high to achieve and to never take a break. And vacation time is so small. Everything, even down to here in Europe, summer is slower time. You don't try to get anything done in the month of August. Everybody's on holiday. It's just part of the yearly rhythm. There's a lot longer holiday chunks. Here in Portugal, summer is like the time off school, at least for my kids, is 3 full months. And that's not the case in other places in Europe. So that differs from country to country. But my point is that you just have more space here to be a human, and that there's more to life than work and more to life than rushing. And so that change just in itself, the cultural change, has been very healing for me as a woman with ADHD. This series is 44 Ways I Built a Life That Doesn't Break Me, and a lot of it revolves around choices that I made to exit systems and circumstances that were hurting me as a neurodivergent woman, just as a woman, as a mom, as a creative. And I'm talking recently a lot about just this stage of life, and especially what it's like to go through this stage of life as a woman who's being late diagnosed with ADHD and everything that that means. If you are interested yourself in exploring whether leaving the US might be a good path for you, if you want to know if it's even possible, I'm going to link my Get Me Out of Here bundle in the description. It will just show you what paths are available to American citizens. I left America in 2019 with my family of 7. So if your life is not working for you anymore, if it doesn't feel okay anymore, and you're ready to try and build something that feels more humane for you, where you're not feeling like you're losing your mind all the time, for me, that meant leaving. And so if you want to leave, start with my bundle, and it will help you understand what is required and what you really need and what you don't need. You don't have to figure out the next 5-10 years. It's a process that you can move toward without having a 10-year plan, which is great, because I feel like most of us with ADHD don't really do well with 5 or 10-year plans anyway. We're just, trying to make it today. So if you are trying to make it today, I encourage you to dare to truly live and feel okay in your life. Make the changes you need to make to preserve yourself. That is okay. That is okay. And also, there might not feel like there's much beauty in your circumstances right now. So find the beauty wherever you can. If that's little flowers in the crack in the sidewalk, if that is the way that the light comes through the window, however you can see any kind of beauty in the world, definitely use that to buoy yourself through this period that's really intense. That is such a help to me, my Find the Beauty practice. Lastly, on the subject of beauty, something that I love here in Portugal is the pristine nature. Both the ocean, I live at the ocean, but also inland, there are so many gorgeous rivers with just crystal clear water, mind-blowingly beautiful. And I am doing a playlist. I'll post it here at the end, but I'm beginning a playlist of soundscapes here from Portugal, of some of my favorite locations where it's just a rushing river sound and or the ocean waves sound. So I'm going to be building that out. I know that for all of us with busy minds and stressful lives, just looking at a beautiful scene from Portugal and then like listening to nature sounds can be just really helpful for taking a nap. Or I've heard there's a way you can do repeating videos. Most of my videos are going to be at least an hour long, so that if you wanted to repeat them for sleep, you could. But also just to have something beautiful, put it on your TV screen and just see some nature. It's good for your brain. I'm also going to link my free resource about what studies have shown will relieve some of your memory symptoms, your ADHD symptoms, your perimenopause symptoms. There's a lot of things that studies have shown that relieve multiple things. And so I made some Venn diagrams that are really easy to understand for some very impactful things that you can do to get some relief. I would love it if you subscribe and join me tomorrow. I will continue talking about ways that I've built a life that doesn't break me. Nice to see you. Bye.